The title is at the top of the screen. The morning begins peacefully, and the gentle sound of a church bell can be heard somewhere nearby, as if the day is just beginning, and in a silent room a girl wakes without warning. She gradually sits up, still half asleep, rubbing her eyes and muttering under her breath, and for a moment panic hits her. Is she late for work? She hurriedly scans the room looking for her alarm clock, but something is clearly wrong because the room does not look familiar at all, and she freezes with one hand still raised, then glances down at herself and notices her hair looks different and her body feels strangely light. What exactly is happening? She stays still on the bed, holding her head as her confusion only grows when she realizes it is already noon. That does not make sense, so she tries laughing the situation away, but it does not come out right, and she starts wondering whether this might be a dream. Could it be real? A realization suddenly strikes her and memories begin flooding back one after another, and she remembers her previous identity. Hiron Hanamaki, 22 years old, always tired and always working with long hours and endless overtime, sometimes over 150 hours in a single month, and the memory alone makes her tired because back then all she ever wanted was a break, a little freedom for herself. The memories continue of part-time jobs and struggling through university while saving every little bit she can, and there are a few happy memories, as well, like celebrating with her mother after overcoming something hard which feels warm, but those moments never last because work always takes over again. She remembers lying down after work, too tired to even move properly, unable to rock herself to sleep, and the only thing she can manage is whispering that she is tired until she finally loses consciousness. Then she meets a goddess, and the memory seems far away yet strangely clear because the goddess watches her with a gentle expression as if she understands everything. And she tells her that she has been watching and that she recognizes how hard she worked each day. So only then does Hiron realize the truth, that she has already died, and the goddess takes pity on everything she went through. So she offers her a second chance, which is how she arrived in this place. Back in the present, Hiron takes another slow look at herself, and her appearance feels different, almost unnaturally perfect. So did the goddess give her this too? A faint frown appears as she thinks about it, and her old goals come back to mind, like coming home to her pet, traveling somewhere far, going window shopping with cute friends, or falling asleep with a movie playing. And she questions if she can ever do those things in this life, because everything is so different now. She no longer has to work, and her mind is still foggy after waking, as if her mind has not fully caught up yet. But despite that, she realizes something unusual because she feels strangely well, and she peers out the window as she hears faint chatter outside, so she can make out people moving outside. And for a second, she questions if she is already becoming this relaxed, especially when she remembers how busy her old life had. The scenery is so calm it almost seems fake, and ladies talk casually beneath the open sky, and she cannot help thinking it looks like something pulled directly from an anime. And could this really be her new life? That question stays in her mind, while she remains quietly amazed as she tries piecing the situation together and wonders what place this could be. Soon afterward, a priest enters the room and realizes she is finally awake, and Hiron reacts uncertainly, unsure how he even knows her because she cannot remember being right. He explains that she had fallen unconscious on the road yesterday and that he carried her here. After hearing this, she feels a small chill as she wonders what could have happened if no one had found her. Hiron slowly puts the situation together and figures in silence that the goddess must have protected her, and she thanks the priest, who gives his name as Zacutes, the Archbishop of the Mephisto Stella Faith, and the name sounds unfamiliar to her. So she takes it in as he gently reassures her that she doesn't have to speak so formally and can rest if she still feels unwell. And his calm and kind presence helps her relax a little. He asks what else she can remember beyond her name, and she admits that she remembers more, but even so, she keeps her real situation to herself, having no idea how she could explain being reincarnated, because it feels safer to hold back for now. And the Archbishop watches her carefully, as though he senses she is different, like she does not quite belong to this world. Then he tells her that she seems to have nowhere else to go, and he suggests that she appears suited to becoming a saint, and he gives her the option of staying there with food and a bed and a quiet life centered around prayer. And the proposal sounds almost unbelievable because in her past life, she used to wake up early every day and work constantly without any real break. But now she is being offered a slower and more peaceful life. And is this seriously her life now? With barely any hesitation, she agrees, and the Archbishop welcomes her answer and agrees to serve as her guardian. And he lifts one hand and starts casting holy magic a gentle light collecting around her like drifting stardust, and she observes in silence, realizing she is finally seeing this world's magic. And he tells her that the goddess Sophia has accepted and blessed her decision, and the light confirms the blessing. And just like that, she becomes a saint in the eyes of this world. Everything lands on her all at once, and she already feels sleepiness dragging her down again. But she says she will try her hardest, though her voice fades as a yawn slips out, and she wonders if she can actually deal with what comes next. The Archbishop explains that a maid will start looking after her from tomorrow onward, and he hopes they can work well together, and by then, she is already pulling the blanket over herself, getting comfortable immediately, and sleep takes over quickly, so she allows herself to drift off. Afterward, the Archbishop reflects on Hiren in silence, and even when he stands right in front of her, Hiren does not seem afraid in the slightest, and that by itself is strange. So he wonders what kind of person she really is, because that kind of calm cannot come from innocence alone, and perhaps she truly is special. He tells her to send for him whenever she needs help, and she softly calls out to him, her voice light, as she talks about how the world seems to shine so brightly, the same way that earlier starlight did. And hearing that, Tsukuris cannot shake the feeling that there is something different about her, because the way her clear blue eyes look almost makes it seem like she is seeing farther than anyone else can, as if she is standing somewhere between two places at once. He tells her in a gentle voice to sleep, and he rests a hand on her head and pats it gently, and when he asks if she is sleepy, she quietly confirms it, and not long after, she drifts off. But even in her sleep, the soft light around her refuses to disappear, and seeing that, he is silently stunned, because the event he had dismissed as chance now starts to feel guided, as if the goddess personally brought them together. The following morning, Hiren gradually opens her eyes, and she figures out that she overslept, and her body is slightly stiff, but oddly enough, she does not dislike it. And it has been so long since she last felt this kind of rest, so she starts thinking that perhaps the futon might need softer. And when she stretches, she suddenly notices someone standing nearby, and she quietly wonders if this is the maid she was told about. The maid watches quietly from the side, and Hiren quickly realizes this must be the one Tsukuris mentioned, so she offers a greeting before introducing herself, and the maid responds politely, giving her name as Janta. Hiren looks at her closely, noticing how small and delicate she seems, almost like a doll, and she keeps staring longer than she should without meaning to, which makes Janta blush beneath Hiren's gaze. So Hiren quickly apologizes, her tone soft as she says she is happy to meet her. She reaches out and takes Janta's hand, pulling her closer so they can talk, and since Hiren is pretending to suffer from amnesia, there is so much she should learn, and this seems like the simplest place to begin. While Janta, still a bit shy, finds herself thinking that Hiren herself resembles one of the dolls her grandmother kept long ago. How can someone so small and delicate manage to take care of another person all day? Without any warning, a tiny noise interrupts the silence, and Hiren's belly makes an embarrassingly loud noise, so she casually remarks that it feels like there might be a creature inside her stomach, and even asks Janta to touch her stomach, which catches Janta off guard. But she hesitantly follows the request, and the sound comes again, leading Janta to quietly decide that it is probably only hunger. Who would expect hunger to sound so loud in such a quiet room? Afterward, in the dining hall, Hiren sits in front of her breakfast and studies it with a thoughtful expression, and she asks Janta if apprentice saints are permitted to work elsewhere for money, even just once a week, and Janta explains that it is not allowed, because apprentice saints are not supposed to handle money at all, so Hiren quietly notes that it means she would not even be able to purchase sweets. Are apprentice rules seriously that harsh? Janta can only look at her, unsure how to respond to something so simple yet oddly serious. Later, Hiren takes a bath while Janta assists her and quickly goes back to resting, falling asleep with no effort like it has become her natural state. And after she wakes again, she sits while Janta gently brushes her hair, softly commenting on how pretty and smooth it is, and Hiren listens while thinking to herself, wondering if sacrificing comforts such as a soft bed and decent food might be a downside. But having someone gently take care of her like this is almost dangerously comfortable, almost like a small luxury that never existed in her old life. Can someone ever get used to this after living such a difficult life? While Janta brushes her hair, she starts telling Hiren little things about the world around them, and Hiren carefully listens, noticing how Janta speaks more smoothly than before, and the earlier hesitation is no longer there, and she appears much more comfortable around Hiren. How did such a small amount of care change her so fast? Janta quietly explains that this world is called Eversphere, and the city around them is the royal capital of the Canvas Kingdom, home to many saints who follow the Mephisto Stella faith. And she mentions that most structures are visibly old because their funds are spent on workers instead of fixing the buildings, which makes one wonder if the kingdom values work over appearances more than comfort. As Janta keeps talking, she adds that maids are trained here and are later dispatched to various locations. Some continue working here for the saints, some are hired by nobles, and others, like her, do not have any family to return to, which makes Hiren wonder how people endure lives controlled by duty. When Janta finishes brushing Hiren's hair, Hiren thanks her and asks how the outfit looks. And Janta says it suits her, but she continues looking for another second, noticing Hiren's long lashes leaving faint shadows beneath her eyes. And despite the smile on her face, there is something far away in her eyes, which makes one wonder whether amnesia brings more than forgetfulness, perhaps some hidden unease as well. Hiren then asks what comes next in the day, and Janta begins listing the schedule. An hour of prayer at the church, making the bed, listening to the priest's words, memorizing lines of spell casting, meditating to strengthen their magic, distributing alms beyond the church, having lunch, walking around the city while repeating scripture, and coming back to the church afterward, and they will be visiting the Madeira district, which makes the day look long and exhausting, and it raises the obvious question of how anyone keeps up with such a packed routine. She asks if a saint's life is always this busy, and Janta enthusiastically confirms it, saying it is all part of putting an effort to protect world peace, which might make observers wonder if even noble intentions always require a relentless schedule. Before Janta says anything else, she notices Hiren has drifted off again, and when she leans in, she notices how pale she looks and asks quietly if Hiren feels sick, since someone this small hardly looks capable of surviving that schedule. Janta continues her explanation, saying when a saint accomplishes something great, she can become a great saint, someone honored and loved by the public, and that great saints have their own churches and are tasked with purifying the nearby region, which leads one to wonder whether owning a church gives them an easier life or at least gives them more freedom. Hiren asks if that church serves as their residence too, and Janta confirms that it normally does, which shows how status brings even greater responsibility and makes one consider how saints balance duty and comfort. Observing Hiren thinking back to her previous life, one can easily see how worn down she had been, and it is hard to believe anyone would willingly repeat that exhausting cycle. Seeing her quietly decide to aim for becoming a great saint, it seems natural to wonder if this path can give her new life more balance and meaning than before. For just a moment, Hiren's eyes become focused, and Janta is taken by surprise by the seriousness in her. There is a quiet determination glowing like blue fire underneath her sleepy exterior, and it seems hard to guess what is hidden behind those eyes. Hiren then moves closer and places her head against Janta's shoulder and immediately goes to sleep. Janta tenses in surprise, and it is strange to see someone completely surrender to rest right in the middle of everything. Hiren's warmth settles against Janta's shoulder in the silent room, and the moment lingers longer than expected. The silence feels strangely intimate, as if the room is asking why two people can relax together in such a strange way. Soon enough, Janta's own eyes grow heavy, and the silence of the room slowly draws her. It feels natural to let herself fall asleep too, yet the scene still carries the question of how brief it might be before the world pulls them back into motion. Hiren stands by the cooking area, softly chanting spells as she prepares the rhythm of her voice blends with a simple task, and soon enough, she serves a bowl to a poor man waiting nearby. He receives it with clear gratitude, and she softly watches him for a second before moving on. People around her quickly begin taking notice. Some stare with curiosity, while others look on with silent admiration. One woman wonders who Hiren is, her eyes staying on the girl's delicate appearance. It is not long before someone tells her that Hiren is a newly arrived apprentice saint. The rumor has already spread, and people speak about her warmly, claiming that even her gentle presence can heal others. A few even describe her as some kind of soft angel, or a being that feels slightly out of place in this world. The entire situation is a little odd, almost like everyone is looking at her from far away instead of treating her like an ordinary person. Others thank her too, not only for the soup but also for the spells she quietly mixes in while serving it. Hiren listens, and somewhere amid all the voices, it hits her that a full week has already passed since she came to the realization sinks in little by little. The meals are still plain, the beds remain less comfortable than she wants, and even this daily job of handing out food is beginning to drain her. Her arms ache and her shoulders feel stiff as she continues working. Janta gently reminds her that this is charity and therefore something important, then starts massaging her shoulders to loosen the tension. Hyren lets her do it, though the exhaustion does not disappear completely. She understands that the work matters, but it still feels like too much to deal with all at once. While she keeps serving, Hyren thinks about how she has been slipping spell chants into the cooking, almost like seasoning the soup with one extra touch. To her it feels completely natural, but Janta explains that magic is not meant to be used so casually. The spells they study are sacred rather than ordinary words, and they should only be cast when there is a real need for them. That explanation remains in Hyren's mind. Eversphere is a world where sacred magic truly exists, and where she can actually use it herself. One part of her is excited by that, yet she is still only a beginner, and learning is much harder than she imagined. Proper training requires effort, and she can already tell how slowly she is progressing. She begins searching for an easier way to manage everything. A strange idea enters her head about a chair that could make her memorize things instantly, followed by the wish for a small group of friends she could study beside. It is a simple desire, but one that might make the lessons less exhausting. Janta apologizes in a soft voice and says she cannot do anything about that, though Hyren quickly waves it away because she does not want Janta feeling guilty over such a small. Then Janta remembers something the other maids told her. Apparently Hyren can be somewhat careless, and whenever she comes close, their hearts start beating faster. Hyren listens while trying to figure out what that means, and her thoughts wander to the old man who recently offered her a skewer. She had thought nothing of accepting it at the time, but the story sounds different when Janta repeats it now. Janta reacts in surprise, saying that sort of behavior does not fit someone preparing to become a saint. The version of Hyren everyone imagines is clearly much stricter than the way Hyren sees herself, and the difference between the two becomes hard to ignore. Janta then adds another rumor she has heard. It seems Hyren's teacher, Ms. Wanda, has been keeping an eye on her, and there was even a moment when Hyren was caught napping. After hearing this, Hyren doesn't deny it. She just responds in her own way, a thumbs up. Janta keeps going by explaining that if Hyren becomes a saint, she may be sent on an expedition to the countryside to purify areas contaminated by monsters. She has heard those places are dangerous, and that thought clearly worries her. She also feels Hyren has been too absent-minded lately. Meanwhile, Hyren softly mutters to herself, thinking about that same future. If she becomes a saint, she will have to work hard in the countryside. She wonders if she will have to sleep outside during those trips. Are sleeping bags even comfortable? The more she thinks about it, the more she feels she should become a great saint as soon as possible, simply to be prepared. But before she can drift any further into her thoughts, Janta reminds her that it is time to get to work, noticing once again how distracted she has become. Later at the church, Hyren glances around and can't help comparing it to her old workplace. This place feels entirely different, almost like royalty. The decorations are so beautiful that she pauses and looks twice just to take it all in. As she steps forward, she notices words carved into the floor, forming what looks like a magic circle. Seeing something like that in person excites her. Could this really be the kind of place where magic is used every day? Just then, Ms. Wanda arrives. She gives Hyren one brief, sharp glance before lowering her eyes back to the book in her. Hyren quickly moves over to join the other apprentice saints who have already gathered. Miss Wanda starts the sermon by explaining that all of them are devoted apprentices serving the goddess Sophia. Their purpose is to pursue peace and harmony among every living creature and to pray with love and gratitude in their hearts. Hyren listens, though she cannot stop herself from thinking that the sermon is extremely long and Ms. Wanda is painfully serious. Even so, she knows she needs to concentrate. During the prayer, Hyren quietly offers her thanks to the goddess Sophia. Soon a gentle warmth wraps around her, and her eyelids slowly become heavy. The magical light is soft and comfortable. Is a person really supposed to feel this relaxed while praying? Right as she begins drifting off, Ms. Wanda warns her to remain focused, explaining that only a sincere prayer will let her sense the goddess's power and gain proper control over magic. A short while later, Hyren notices a different sensation. It seems like she can genuinely use magic now. She starts wondering if the goddess has granted her some sort of protection. Should she test it by reciting a spell? While she considers that, The apprentice sitting beside her opens one eye and spots something unusual. A soft light is glowing around Hirun. Hirun realizes she is using magic to hold her body upright instead of relying on her muscle. If she keeps doing that, she can remain perfectly motionless even while relaxing. Curious about the result, she allows it to continue. Her body stays frozen in an ideal praying pose, yet her mind gradually slips toward sleep. Is she honestly sleeping like this? Miss Wanda suddenly senses a powerful surge. The amount feels strange, far beyond what she expects from an apprentice. She begins understanding why Zacutes treated Hirun with respect the instant he saw her. From the outside, Hirun appears completely absorbed in prayer, but the truth is that she is sleeping peacefully. Later at the dorms, Hirun softly admits to herself that she feels much better after that nap. She knows Janta would not be happy if she found out. Soon, they are assigned cleaning duties, and Hirun looks forward to dusting the bed. She even considers using magic to make the task easier. At that moment, another apprentice calls to her. Hirun turns around and sees a blue-haired girl standing nearby. The girl asks whether Hirun fell asleep during prayer. Hirun attempts to dismiss the accusation by suggesting that she may have imagined it. The girl immediately explains that she was sitting right beside Hirun and heard the unusual way she was breathing. Hirun casually tells the truth and says she was having a nap. The girl is shocked by how easily she confesses, but that only makes her more curious. How could Hirun stay entirely still without moving a single time? Hirun casually explains that it is magic, saying she used a spell to control her body. The girl is clearly shocked and asks what she means. Hirun then notices that others nearby are starting to pay attention, making the moment feel a bit tense. Seeing this, the girl leans closer and softly asks if Hirun can still do it. Hirun simply says yes. The girl then points out one serious problem. Magic normally requires the user to chant aloud, meaning someone in the chapel should have heard Hirun if she truly cast a spell there. Hirun calmly replies that she only repeated the incantation inside her. The answer is even more unbelievable. Can magic actually be used without speaking? Trying to soften the mood, Hirun introduces herself politely and asks the girl's name. The girl says she is Holly and explains that she became an apprentice 3 months after passing the examination. Then she asks how old Hirun is. When Hirun answers that she is 8, Holly is surprised before revealing that they are the same age. Hirun feels relieved to hear it. Meeting another girl her own age is comforting. Holly admits that Hirun is very pretty, though she is also rather strange. Reciting a spell silently should be impossible unless the caster has already mastered magic, which normally requires years of practice. Instead of arguing, Hirun decides to demonstrate. She picks up a dusty goblet and stares at it. A second later, the entire cup is spotless. Holly stares at it in shock. She admits she can usually only clean one side at a time, but after that immediately insists that she is still better. Is she trying to protect her pride? Just then, Ms. Wanda approaches and scolds Holly for being noisy. Holly appears ready to explain herself, but instead she holds back and apologizes. Wanda comments that causing a disturbance is unlike Holly and warns her to be more careful in the future. After that, Wanda turns to Hirun and asks if she was talking with Holly. She also asks if Hirun is enjoying the prayers. Her tone becomes stricter as she adds that if she catches Hirun sleeping again, she will have to sweep the hallways. After that, she tells them both to continue their work softly. Once Wanda leaves, Holly reaches for another dusty goblet. This time, she cleans only one side at first, making the difference between hers and Hirun's result obvious. After that, she focuses, carefully chants a spell, and finally manages to clean the whole goblet until it shines simply like Hirun. Looking at both goblets, Holly begins to think more seriously. For Hirun to use magic so easily at the age of 8, she must be extremely talented. Holly had always believed she would become the youngest saint at 9. Could that record be taken from her? Simply after that, Hirun calls out to her and asks if, when she has time, she could teach her some spells. Holly looks confused and asks what she means. Hirun says that she struggles to remember spells and could get into trouble because of it. Meanwhile, Holly can say them smoothly without hesitation. She even mentions how difficult it was to follow the priest's lesson the day before. Would it not be easier to learn directly from someone like Holly? Hirun then takes Holly's hand gently and asks her to visit her room when she is available. She says they could study together as friends, then quietly admits that she still does not have a friend here. Holly freezes for a second at that word. A friend? She did not expect that. Hirun after that asks, almost timidly, if it was wrong to ask something like that. Holly can only blush and turn slightly away, saying she doesn't really mind. Hyrun adds that Holly should tell her if there is ever something she can do in exchange. After hearing that, Holly finally agrees, claiming that as Hyrun's senior apprentice, she has a duty to pass along everything she knows. Soon afterward, Hyrun gently rests her head on Holly's lap, looking entirely at ease. She quietly mentions that it is nice to meet her. Holly is caught off guard by this sudden closeness. Before she can react properly, Hyrun smiles and admits that she has always dreamed of using a friend's lap as a pillow. How long has she been thinking about something like that? Holly finds herself respond in disbelief, wondering how someone their age could act this way so naturally. Hyrun then brings up another concern and asks whether pillows can be accepted as offering. She complains that the pillows in her room are uncomfortable and the futon is barely any better. Holly immediately scolds her, saying saints should not care so much about material comfort. They are expected to live simply and never enjoy more luxury than the people they serve. But in the middle of Holly's lecture, she suddenly stops. Hyrun has already fallen asleep on her lap without any warning. It happens so quickly that Holly is left stunned. When she looks down, she notices Hyrun's peaceful expression and the surprising length of her eyelash. Holly notices Hyrun using holy magic while they are cleaning and immediately realizes what is happening. To her, it looks like cheating. But Hyrun doesn't see it that way. She simply thinks that no one ever said they couldn't use holy magic for cleaning, so how could it be wrong? Even with that excuse, both girls are punished for failing to follow the rule. Their new assignment is to clean a seemingly endless corridor called Killiad Hall. The work is exhausting, and Holly becomes more irritated as she scrubs the same area over and over. She blames the whole situation on Hyrun's lack of seriousness and keeps telling her to pay closer attention. As the cleaning continues, Hyrun scans the corridor and finally understands where the name Killiad Hall comes from. 1,000 pieces of holy scripture cover the walls, each one arranged carefully beside the next. The sight gives the hallway a peaceful and sacred atmosphere. In the middle of working, Hyrun casually brings up how comfortable it felt when the three of them slept together before. Surely Holly enjoyed it too, right? Holly refuses to admit anything of the sort. She feels that Hyrun always drags her into strange situations without permission, and she warns herself not to be pulled in again. Yet the longer she thinks about it, the harder it becomes to deny the truth. Looking back, she actually slept extremely well. Is there really anything to complain about? Hyrun is pleased by the admission and even treats it like another blessing sent by the goddess. Later in the day, Ms. Wanda stands near a tree and prays quietly. Holly approaches to report that they have completed the cleaning of Killiad Hall, and Wanda acknowledges their effort. Hyrun is standing nearby as well, silently wondering whether Wanda has been praying directly to the tree this entire time. Soon, Wanda calls for their attention and then speaks firmly. She warns them not to walk around at night from now on and tells them to stay in their rooms. If they break the rules again, the punishment will be more severe. She also reminds them that it has already been half a year since their training began, so they should start acting more aware as apprentice saints. After saying this, she leaves them. Hyrun and Holly remain their feelings slightly shaken. Why did Wanda make the warning sound so severe? Uneasiness starts settling over them. Just then, Hyrun hears a quiet noise and steps closer to the tree. She asks whether Holly heard it, but Holly looks puzzled and has no idea what she means. Instead, she asks why Hyrun is staring so intensely at the tree known as the jewelry apple tree. The name surprises Hyrun and reminds her of something important. The fruit that used to appear with their meals has recently disappeared, even though it was one of the things she always looked forward to. Why did they suddenly stop receiving it? Holly says that monsters have become more active lately, especially in the southern area where many orchards are located. That is likely affecting the supply. She also mentions that while the north, east, and west all have great saints protecting them, the south doesn't have even one. That alone is a serious problem. After hearing this, Hyrun becomes a little troubled. Without peace in the world, she cannot enjoy either her naps or her fruit properly. Holly has difficulty believing that concern is genuine. As far as she knows, Hyrun sleeps whenever she feels like it and rarely worries about anything, which is exactly why Holly has been told to watch over Hyrun, but feels reassured having someone like Holly around. She admits that she has always been sleepy since she was born, and her body naturally leans toward whatever is easiest. Holly brushes it off, saying she doesn't care much about such things, though she admits she misses the fruit as well. After hearing this, Hyrun grows quiet and starts thinking, her hand resting under her chin. That night, Hyrun returns to the tree Wanda was praying to earlier. Curiosity leads her closer, and she begins to examine it more carefully. The jewelry apple tree is believed to be more than 200 years old. In the past, its branches produced sweet fruit that brought happiness to every apprentice saint living at the lodge. Janta calls out to Hyrule, worried that she is outside at night again, reminding her that Wanda simply scolded her. Holly adds, surprised, that she is even more shocked Hyrule actually chose not to sleep. But Hyrule knows this is for everyone's sake. She needs the jewelry apple tree to recover. She has heard that its fruit is sweet and delightful, and she can't wait to taste. Hyrule presses one hand against the tree and inspects its condition. She realizes that the roots are receiving too few nutrients from the soil, and that the signs of life are weakest deep near the center. Then the faint voice from that morning reaches her again. The tree says it does not want to die. Hyrule silently thanks it for speaking. Janta cautiously asks what she intends to do, and Hyrule calmly answers that she will use healing magic to send nutrients into the tree, leaving both Janta and Holly shocked. Hyrule normally spends her life feeling sleepy and following whichever path requires the least effort, but sometimes working a little is worthwhile. She begins chanting and directs her magic into the dried tree. A blinding light surrounds it and grows brighter with every second. At the same time, memories of her previous life flash through her. She remembers her mother lying in the hospital and saying she did not want to die. Hyrule had reminded herself that her mother's work was always difficult, yet she continued believing that her mother would recover. That same faith now pushes her forward, and she decides not to give up on the tree. Gradually, the dried jewelry apple tree starts to flourish. Leaves sprout, and fruit appears rapidly, filling the branches. Holly watches in shock, whispering that Hyrule's magic is on par with that of a great saint. But then she sees Hyrule collapse into Janta's arms, her face pale from exhaustion. Holly immediately notes that Hyrule is suffering from magic deficiency, a condition caused by using too much magic at once. She reassures Janta that Hyrule will recover after some rest, explaining that many inexperienced apprentice saints experience the same thing. The following morning, other apprentices gather around the tree, amazed to see it full of leaves and heavy with fruit. Some call it a miracle. One whispers that Hyrule must be a miracle worker. Even Wanda is impressed, shaking her head and murmuring that it is unbelievable. Amid the excitement, someone asks what is going on. Meanwhile, Hyrule slowly opens her eyes without knowing where she is. Janta asks how she feels, and Hyrule looks around until she notices sliced apples beside the bed. She realizes Janta must have cared for her during the entire time she was unconscious. Janta probably never slept, yet she somehow looks full of energy. Hyrule can tell she is genuinely fine rather than pretending for her sake. Hyrule remembers that Janta recently began sleeping beside her and has strangely become much livelier since then. Oddly, Holly has shown the same change. Being close to Hyrule appears to give both girls an unusual amount of energy. Janta tells Hyrule not to worry, because caring for her is the duty of her personal maid. She is proud to serve Hyrule, especially when Hyrule's actions benefit everyone at the lodge. Hyrule is barely listening because her attention has already moved to the fruit Janta is holding. The slices came from the restored jewelry apple tree. Hyrule bites into one and is instantly impressed by the juicy texture and perfect sweetness filling her. Being fed delicious apples while lying in bed is wonderful. Holly enters the room and realizes Hyrule is finally awake. Hyrule quickly apologizes for worrying her, but Holly dismisses it and takes an apple slice for herself. She comments on the delicious taste, making Hyrule wonder how anyone could possibly dislike it. When Hyrule asks what happened during her sleep, Holly explains that Miss Wanda questioned her endlessly after Hyrule collapsed and completely exhausted her. Hyrule invites Holly to lie down on the bed with her, but Holly refuses, insisting that it isn't the time for that. Just then, Archbishop Zacutes arrives with Miss Wanda. Hyrule, Holly, and Janta are all shocked to see him. Zacutes approaches Hyrule and pats her head, looking at her with such warmth and fondness that everyone else is taken aback. His care for her is obvious. Zacutes asks Hyrule why she used holy magic on the jewelry apple. Hyrule says that everyone looked sad about not having any fruit during meals, and she also heard a voice from the tree saying it didn't want to die. The memory reminds her of her mother in her past life. She asks if she should not have done it. Zacutes smiles and tells her that what she did was good. The villagers are delighted, and her holy magic was extremely effective. Not only did the jewelry apple tree recover, but many other withered trees nearby grew healthy. People are praising her, and Zacutes is glad to see her doing well. He instructs Miss Wanda to take good care of Hyrule and to contact him immediately if she needs anything. Miss Wanda acknowledges the order, After Zacutes leaves, Miss Wanda praises Hirun, saying that her actions were admirable and true to the Archbishop's word. The entire West Church is speaking highly of her, and Hirun feels proud to hear it. But Miss Wanda quickly adds a reprimand. Leaving the lodge in the middle of the night was not admirable. As punishment, Hirun must clean Killiad Hall for a full week starting tomorrow, using only her own strength and no magic. Hirun groans at that thought, while Janta immediately offers to help Holly, but insists that Hirun had it coming, calling her reckless. Miss Wanda after that adds that Holly will be cleaning too, leaving her stunned. Miss Wanda tells them the punishment begins tomorrow, then glances toward a basket filled with jewelry apple. Their sweet smell brings old memories back to her, and she feels quietly grateful for everything Hirun has done. One of the saints approaches Hirun and her colleagues, letting them know that they will have a special visitor that day, a young man named Lord Bonham. The saint says that the visit will also serve as practice for reciting holy scripture in front of others. While the saint keeps going speaking, Hirun is elsewhere in her thoughts, softly wishing she could have some mushrooms. Are there any mushrooms available in the capital, or would she have to go to the forest herself? Soon Lord Bond steps forward and addresses the young saints directly. He introduces himself once more and tells them part of his past. Both of his parents were rescued by saints when he was still young, and the experience taught him how valuable saints are to the world. Wanting the next generation to grow and learn as fast as possible, he asked the priest accompanying him to arrange this visit. He says he is genuinely pleased to be there and meet every one of them. Several apprentices immediately start whispering to one another. One says Lord Bon is a nobleman completely obsessed with saints. Another claims she once heard men discussing a particular saint girl they admired and predicting that the girl would have a promising future. Lord Bon apparently knows saints not just in other nations but throughout the entire world, and he respects them more deeply than anyone. He has also donated enormous sums to the Church of Mephisto, making him a highly influential person. Meanwhile, Hirun is still lost in her own thoughts. She softly tells Holly that she wishes she could eat mushroom, wondering if anyone in the capital sells them or if she might simply have to find some in the forest herself. Just then, Miss Wanda enters and sees that the apprentices are barely paying attention to their visitor. Her voice turns stern as she orders everyone to focus again. She tells them to continue with their usual routine because it is time to practice holy scripture recitation. For that day's lesson, they will begin with the Shining Mountain chapter on page 120. She selects Holly to go first, officially starting the exercise. Holly immediately walks forward and begins reading in a clear, steady voice. Lord Bon follows every line closely. Despite her young age, he notices the dignity in her tone, the accuracy of her pronunciation, and the confidence behind every word. Can a child this young truly sound so composed? Once Holly finishes and returns to her seat, she notices Hirun dozing off. Shocked, she immediately taps her and whispers, wondering how Hirun can sleep even with so much attention on them. How can she remain so calm under pressure? Hirun stands up, stretching slightly. Jean, eager and excited, sits up straight in anticipation. Today will be the first time she hears Hirun read aloud. Is this actually happening? Jean feels like this is already a special day. Hirun asks Miss Wanda which page she should read. Page 120, Miss Wanda replies calmly. Meanwhile, Jean keeps going to watch Hirun, trying not to panic but already feeling overwhelmed by the composure she sees in her friend. As Lord Bon observes Hirun, he senses something familiar. Could she be the apprentice from all the rumors, the one who used holy magic equal to a great saint's power to restore the jewelry apple tree? He immediately notices her beauty, but also how absent-minded she appeared. Her attitude is almost too casual, making her seem slightly unreliable. Hirun starts her recitation. Instantly, a gentle flow of energy fills the space. It is soothing yet powerful, surrounding everyone present. Hirun feels at ease, as if the words connect her directly to the goddess. She breathes lightly, letting herself sink into the rhythm of the scripture. Lord Bon listens closely, and something stirs within him. Her voice is like a magical melody, both serene and profound. The more he listens, the more he feels moved. In a moment he doesn't even notice. Tears begin streaming down his cheeks. Can words truly hold such power? He can't tell. All he knows is that what he hears is magnificent. By the time Hirun completes the passage and returns to her seat, another yawn has already escaped her. The reading is over, but her exhaustion is obvious. Holly leans closer and tries to keep her awake, though she cannot hide how impressed she is. She quietly admits that Hiren's scripture recitation sounded perfect. Skill like that is rare, even among older apprentices. Could anyone else her age perform so well? That night, in the dining hall, Hiren sits down to her dinner. Jean leans over with a bright smile. She commends Hiren for how incredible she performed that day. After that, she adds some surprising news. Lord Bond donated 100 gold coins for Hiren. Not only that, he said she would make a great saint in the future and hopes the money can help her prepare for that. Jean beams, clearly impressed. A saint's favor carries real weight in the church. Does Hiren realize how important this is? Hiren knows the money is not truly hers to control. Although the donation was made for her, the church will decide how it is spent. For a brief second, she thinks it would be nice to buy a much more comfortable bed. While she is distracted by that idea, she notices Holly standing silently nearby. The look on Holly's face suggests she can already guess every strange thought passing through Hiren's mind. Before Hiren can ask, Holly speaks sharply, almost angrily. She warns Hiren that she will not lose to her again next time. After that, she adds that Lord Bond also donated 30 gold coins specifically for Holly. Hiren immediately calculates the total, 130 gold coin. Without missing a beat, she says she can split it evenly and use 65 gold coins each when they both become saints. Would splitting it this way actually work out fairly? Holly freezes, shocked by the suggestion. She hadn't expected such a practical, split-the-money approach. The calm way Hiren considers everything feels almost impossible to match. How can she be so composed even with such a large donation? Jean then offers Hiren some water, and Hiren accepts. While Jean pours it into the cup, a little spills onto Hiren's clothing. Jean panics immediately and apologizes, convinced she has made a serious mistake. Hiren waves the concern away and points out that it is only water rather than soup, so the fabric will dry soon. Jean still insists on finding something to wipe it with. Holly watches quietly and notices that Hiren is far too polite to make a fuss. After seeing the small disturbance, Holly decides to. Hiren calls after her and asks her to return later so they can practice reciting scripture together. She admits that she spent half the day sleeping and can barely remember the previous lesson. Holly hesitates before agreeing with a nod. There is no telling what Hiren may be planning this time. Hiren glances toward Jean as she cleans up the spilled water and feels slightly concerned by how hard the maid works for her. Holly sees nothing unusual and says Jean appears normal enough. Hiren insists Jean would be happier if Holly remained close by. That suggestion surprises Holly, but she agrees to come back while firmly announcing that she will not sleep in Hiren's room. She refuses to risk another punishment cleaning the hall. Later that night, Jean explains why she was in a bad mood earlier. Hiren listens with obvious concern. Jean confesses that she struggles whenever a task requires reaching somewhere high or wiping dust quickly, and her hands often slip, just as they did with the water. The chief maid scolded her and said her reflexes were poor. Even so, Jean says the day still became special because she was able to hear Hiren recite the Holy Scripture. Remembering it makes her anxious and happy at the same time. Despite all the small mistakes and difficulty, the time spent listening and learning still feels meaningful. Could Hiren be the reason Jean continues trying so hard? Does Holly understand how much Jean admires both of them? Holly had actually arrived earlier for the recitation and managed to make it in time, but Jean's duties lasted for so long. Hiren can tell that Jean must have been rushing herself to finish. Even then, Jean is extremely happy that she witnessed Hiren revive the jewelry apple tree and later heard her recitation. As Jean prepares to say something else, Holly already understands the problem. Jean is afraid she might be replaced as Hiren's personal maid. Even Jean is startled that Holly reads her feelings so accurately. Hiren immediately kneels in front of Jean and pulls her into a tight hug. She declares that she cannot survive without Jean serving as her maid and will never accept anyone else being assigned to her. Jean is stunned by the strength of the statement. Hiren even says she would protest by staying in bed and sleeping all day. Holly wonders whether that threat means anything when everyone already knows Hiren spends most of her time. Holly then tells Jean that everyone in the church except Hiren herself can see how hard she works. She adds that she will protest too if anyone tries to remove Jean from Hiren's side. Jean becomes so emotional that she can hardly believe Holly is supporting her as well. How could she not feel overwhelmed by that much gratitude? Jean bursts into tears, and Hiren urges her not to cry. Instead, she says she has a great idea. Holly wonders what Hiren is planning this time. Surprisingly, Hiren decides to heal Jean. She knows it doesn't improve Jean's reflexes, but at least it can take away her daily fatigue. Does Jean realize how much this small act shows Hiren's care? Before Jean fully understands what is happening, she is already asleep on the bed. When she eventually wakes, she feels herself resting on something wonderfully soft. Opening her eyes, she discovers that she is lying in Hiren's arm. Hiren explains that she used holy magic to remove Jean's exhaustion and promises that from now on she will heal that fatigue every single day. Jean believes such treatment is far too generous. She quickly begs Hiren to stop because precious magical energy should never be wasted on someone like her. Hiren refuses that reasoning and insists that even Jean deserves to be cared for. How many people are ever shown kindness like this each day? Calling Jean her dearest friend, Hiren begs her to accept the daily healing. Jean has no idea how to answer such generosity, while Holly remains beside them and quietly watches the small drama continue. After some time, Hiren stands and tells Jean to stop crying and sleep instead. She produces several pillows for everyone. Holly stares in surprise and asks where they came from, but Hiren only smiles. She says they should leave the bad events behind and rest because the world they live in is wonderful, and she is certain tomorrow will be even better. Faced with Hiren's determination, Holly agrees to sleep beside her this. She warns that it will be the final occasion, and Hiren thanks her for cooperating. The three girls lie together on the bed with Jean placed between Hiren and Holly. Deep down, Jean knows she will enjoy the best sleep of her life that night, entirely because of Hiren. The following day, Hiren is already busy again, cooking for everyone while softly healing them at the same time. She hands a man some food and uses her magic on him, and he glances at her with deep gratitude. He thanks her over and over, but Hiren just smiles and tells him not to worry. She only hopes he gets a good rest. As the man turns to leave, her eyes catch something, a unique hairpin in it. It feels unfamiliar. Is he from the south? Soon afterward, she overhears a few women talking near. One of them mentions that the man lost his daughter to a monster and that he came all the way to the capital simply to support his wife and son. The second woman sighs, clearly moved by the story. Hiren stands there listening, and gradually her expression changes. So that is what he has been carrying all this time. Recently, Hiren has seen more and more people wearing similar hairpins. She ignored it at first, but the number has become too large to dismiss. If this many people are arriving from the south, does that mean the situation there is continuing to worsen? She finally begins to understand why so many saints are being sent toward that region. While Hiren is distracted by those thoughts, Holly suddenly appears beside her and gives her cheek a light pinch. She points out that Hiren is once again using holy magic while distributing food. If she continues like this, the line will never end. Hiren attempts to defend herself by saying she only wants everyone to feel comfortable. Holly then directs her attention to the enormous line waiting in front of them. Because Hiren keeps helping people so generously, the crowd grows larger every minute. Hiren turns toward it and freezes. When did so many people arrive? An elderly man steps out from the crowd and apologizes, explaining that everyone gathered because they admire Hiren. Normally, they must wait a very long time to receive help, but things feel much easier when she is present. Hiren listens without knowing what to say. Is she truly helping these people, or is her kindness creating more work without her realizing? When the day finally ends, Hiren returns to her room completely exhausted. She lies on the bed and stares at the ceiling while thinking about Holly's warning. Perhaps Holly is right. Still, now that Hiren possesses holy magic, how is she supposed to ignore people who need it? If she has the ability to help, should she not use that power? Just then, someone calls her name, and Hiren immediately knows the voice belongs. She does not even bother sitting up, and simply tells Jean to open the door herself. Jean manages to enter with a cheerful expression, despite having both hands full. Hiren sighs softly, gets up, and helps take the items from her. What exactly happened? Jean excitedly explains that a noble praised her work that day and even complimented her good manner. As a reward, he gave her an unusual and valuable gift, a cockatrice egg. Hiren pauses at the name. What is a cockatrice? Jean quickly tells her it is a flying monster and that its eggs are worth a great deal. Hiren looks at the enormous egg again. Did a noble truly give this to Jean? Jean can't hide her happiness. This is the first time something like this has happened to her. Hiren watches her for a second and notices the change. She actually seems to have gotten used to her work as a maid. When Hiren points it out, Jean nods and thanks her, saying it is all thanks to the daily healing she received. Hiren says nothing for a second. Is that really the reason? Since the egg is already theirs, Jean suggests eating it. Hiren tilts her head and asks whether they should turn it into an omelet. Jean looks completely confused. What is an omelet? Hyerun gives a basic explanation about cooking an egg in a pan and shaping it while it cooks, but Jean still cannot picture the result. Is this simply a difference between cultures? Eventually, Hyerun tells her to follow her to the kitchen and see it for herself. At the kitchen, they meet the head chef, who is shocked by the size of the egg. She helps the two girls crack it open, and they thank her. Hyerun begins whisking, but the huge quantity quickly becomes difficult to control. The size of the egg alone makes the work exhausting. After watching Hyerun struggle, the chef steps forward to help, though Hyerun stops her and says she can manage it herself. Is she planning to use magic again? She quietly uses her holy magic, giving the mixture a kind of movement, then drops her chopsticks inside. The egg begins to stir on its own. Jean and the chef stare in shock as it mixes smoothly in no time. Hyerun watches it with care. Is it safe to eat it like this? To be sure, she says she will purify it as well. The chef hesitates and wonders if using holy magic for cooking might bring bad luck. Jean immediately responds that this is just how Hyerun does things. Hyerun says nothing, only looking at the egg. Is this actually a problem, or just something they aren't used to yet? Meanwhile, Hyerun starts thinking about the cooking itself. If she can't control the heat of the wood fire properly, after that she might have to rely on holy magic again. That would be easier, but should she? Then a memory comes back to her, the way she used to make omelets in her previous life. With that in mind, she decides to try it herself this time. She adds the oil, spreads it with care, and starts mixing the egg as it cooks. It takes more effort, and it is slower, but she keeps going without using magic. Even though she knows it would be easier that way, she still keeps going. Jean and the chef observe every movement. The ordinary cooking process alone is enough to surprise them. Jean asks whether Hyerun is casting holy magic, but Hyerun shakes her head. This is not magic. It is only cooking. While Hyerun moves the pan, another old memory rises to the surface. When her mother was still with her, they often cooked simple omelets using inexpensive eggs. It was one of the small things they shared. After Hyerun began working, however, she almost stopped cooking for herself entirely. At what point did that happen? After a while, the omelet is finally complete. Hyerun places portions in front of Jean and the chef and tells them to sprinkle a little salt on. She pauses briefly and thinks that pepper would also be good, though a spice like that is probably too expensive in this world. Jean and the chef hesitate and ask whether they are really allowed to eat it. Hyerun nods and assures them it is fine, adding that the food may taste even better if they share it together. Jean thanks her, and both women take their first bite. The reaction is immediate. They are shocked by how soft and fluffy it is. Hyerun takes a bite as well and notices the taste. It feels slightly sweet, almost like milk was added, and the texture is light and smooth. It melts easily. It actually is good. The chef stares at the omelet with wide eyes and calls it incredible, unlike any food she has eaten before. Jean agrees without a second of hesitation. The chef says she especially likes the slightly firmer sections, and Hyerun calmly explains that the texture can be changed by adjusting the heat. Afterward, Hyerun suggests giving some omelet to the church and the nearby people who made donations. Jean agrees immediately and runs off to gather everyone. Hyerun watches her leave while holding the plate in silence. It may be a small gesture, yet for some reason it feels important. While Jean goes to call the others, Hyerun turns to the chef and asks if they can make more omelet. The chef agrees, but this time she wants to learn the process. So Hyerun starts again, explaining each step as she cooks. With her magic softly helping to mix the eggs, she focuses on teaching the rest properly, how to handle the heat, how to move the pan, how to get the right texture. If they work together, they could even make 100 in no time. The chef watches everything closely, but she can't hide her confusion. The way the egg stirs on its own still feels unreal. Is this actually happening? Later, the finished omelets are distributed to everyone. The first bite produces the same response from every person, pure surprise. None of them has ever eaten something so soft, light, or different from their normal food. When they ask for its name, they are told that it is called an omelet. Once the people discover the dish was Hyerun's idea, they begin praising and thanking her. Some even express gratitude toward the Church of Mephisto for bringing such food to them. Hyerun and Jean quietly watch everyone eat. Seeing so many people enjoying the meal makes both girls happy as well. Even Holly chooses not to complain this time. She silently takes a plate and begins eating. Hiren notices and feels slightly surprised because she did not expect Holly to accept the situation so easily. From the way Holly eats, she clearly enjoys the omelet. Could this be the first one she has ever tasted? After a moment, Holly finally speaks and warns that her silence does not mean she will accept responsibility when Miss Wanda discovers what happened. Hiren only laughs. Jean then points out several pieces of omelet stuck to Holly's face, causing Holly to wipe them away immediately. A little later, Holly quietly admits that food truly does taste better when everyone eats. Hiren gradually wakes in her bed and releases a soft yawn. Jean greets her almost immediately, and Hiren answers in a sleepy voice before pushing herself upright. While stretching, she remembers something important. A full year has already passed since she was reborn in this world. Did time truly move that fast? She sighs and admits she is still exhausted. Jean, however, looks at her with concern. She says she has been getting worried lately because Hiren keeps becoming more beautiful with each passing day. The thought alone bothers her. What if someone takes her away one day? Hiren looks at her for a second before brushing it off, saying there is no need to worry. After all, she's only 9 years old. After that, she casually adds that even if someone does take her away, she would probably simply sleep all the time anyway. But that answer does not seem to comfort Jean at all. She goes quiet, trying to move past it. Jean starts combing Hiren's hair. As she gently runs her fingers through it, she finds herself admire how beautiful it is. Being the one to take care of her like this, it feels like more than she deserved. She holds on to that feeling softly. Hiren notices the change in her mood and tilts her head slightly. What is wrong with her? Without thinking too much, she suggests that Jean could skip work for the day and simply stay with her. But the moment she says it, Jean immediately panics and tells her not to say things like that. She reminds Hiren that she has duties to attend to at the healing clinic today. Hiren pauses, after that nods. That is true. Every Saturday in this world is called Jewel Day. Apprentice saints who have learned healing magic spend that day working at the clinic as part of their practical training. That purpose is also where the name Healing Clinic comes from. The facility allows ordinary people to receive treatment with holy magic for a lower cost than other available methods. Hiren understands that the clinic exists to help, though she also realizes that patients still have to pay money. The treatment may be cheaper, but it is not free. Jean adds that their church is also struggling financially. The increasing monster threat and the support being sent south have made the situation especially difficult. After hearing this, Hiren quietly promises to work hard and help the church earn money. Jean nods and says she will visit the clinic after finishing her maid duty. Hiren seems pleased, but asks Jean to wake her if she begins falling asleep. She knows her own habits too well. Later that day, they gather at the healing clinic. Miss Wanda stands before them and explains that today will be She reminds everyone not to push themselves too far. If they feel tired or notice their magic running low, they should immediately call for her or any nearby priest. Everyone responds properly, but Hiren listens softly. Will she actually know when to stop? When the patients are finally brought in, Hiren sits across from a man. Looking at him, she thinks about how a person who cannot work is unable to earn money. Even a minor injury can create a serious problem, and something as simple as a sprain might determine whether a family survives. Keeping that in mind, she concentrates and begins healing him. She puts in her best effort, and soon the man's pain disappears. Not simply that, even his toothache is gone. The man looks shocked, clearly not expecting that. Hiren calmly tells him that tooth pain can make it hard to sleep, and that would only make things worse. It is better to deal with it early. The man nods, deeply grateful, and thanks her before leaving. Was he expecting this much from a single treatment? The moment he leaves, Miss Wanda walks over and points out that Hiren skipped reciting holy scripture during the healing. Strong magic does not give her permission to ignore the proper process. The basic steps may appear unnecessary, but they remain important. Hiren listens without responding. Does the scripture really change the result that much? Wanda then asks if she is already tired. Hiren shakes her head slightly and says she simply feels a bit sleepy. That answer doesn't surprise Wanda at all. She already knows Hiren's habits. Using her magic, she checks Hiren's condition and pauses. There is still a good amount of magic left. That feels odd, especially after treating so many patients in such a short time. How is she still fine? Hiren suggests that perhaps she simply does not become tired as quickly as other people. Yet even while saying it, another question appears. Is that honestly the complete explanation? Miss Wanda cannot identify the exact reason, but after studying Hiren for a moment, she gives a calm answer. Hyren appears to be loved by the goddess more than ordinary people. Wanda speaks with complete certainty rather than suspicion and tells her that she possesses an exceptional gift. Hyren remains silent, though she listens carefully. Wanda gives Hyren permission to rest after treating one additional patient. Hyren's expression immediately softens. A break sounds wonderful. Soon afterward, another patient walks in. Hyren immediately directs him to the seat, already thinking, if she finishes this one, she can finally rest. But the moment the man speaks, calling her name, she pauses and looks up properly. Wait, does she know him? After examining his face, Hyren recognizes the owner of Valhalla, the betting shop she visits regularly. The discovery surprises her. Why has he come here as a patient? The man smiles weakly and says he has often seen Hyren around his store. At first, he believed she was simply a neighborhood child, only later learning that she belonged to the church. In the middle of their conversation, Pain suddenly twists his expression. Hyren notices immediately and tells him not to move. He gradually rolls up his sleeve to show his arm. The moment Hyren sees it, she can't hide her reaction. It is badly swollen and red. The condition alone is enough to make anyone uneasy. How long has he been dealing with this? From the look of it, he probably has not been sleeping. The man, Thomas, explains what happened. He fell from the second floor, and his arm took all the impact when he landed. That was where the injury started. Hyren listens with care. After that, starts her treatment without delay. Using Vitals detection magic, she quickly discovers that the damage is worse than at first. Thomas has a compound fracture in his arm and a sprain in one leg. Hyren becomes much more focused. This is not an injury she can treat carelessly. She knows Thomas is an important person in the area. If something serious happens to him, many other people could be affected as well. Hyren steadies herself with that thought. She needs to heal him correctly. Without wasting another second, Hyren casts healing magic over Thomas. Gentle light collects around her hands, and almost instantly, all pain in his arm and leg. The change happens so suddenly that Thomas blinks in confusion. Is the pain really gone? His body feels it, though the accident never happened. As the magic fades, Thomas notices the soft lights resembling stars that moved around Hyren during the treatment. The sight is peaceful and almost unreal. Watching her, he cannot stop himself from thinking that she resembles an angel. Even Holly steps closer with a nervous expression. She tells Hyren that the power of the spell felt overwhelming and even slightly frightening. Hyren apologizes immediately, explaining that she only wanted to heal Thomas properly and may have used too much power. Holly has nothing else to say after hearing that. Thomas remains seated and watches the girls speak. Their conversation sounds perfectly ordinary, like two normal children talking to each other. Yet the abilities they possess are anything but normal. What exactly does the word saint mean to someone like him? After a short pause, Hyren tells Holly she wants to take her break. Holly agrees and says she will inform Miss Wanda. Before leaving, she asks Hyren to tell Thomas that he may go home. Hyren nods with visible relief. As Thomas stands to leave, he suddenly pauses. In all the surprise, he almost forgot to thank her. He immediately turns back and expresses his gratitude once again. He also tells her that, from what he has seen, she will surely become a great saint in the future. But that response doesn't seem to sit well with Hyren. Her expression shifts slightly. Thomas notices and asks what is wrong. Hyren hesitates for a second. After that, a thought crosses her mind. Should she take this chance? She remembers that Thomas told her to use his name without formal language. Facing him, she gathers her courage and says there is something she wants to request. Still, she cannot bring herself to ask direct. She glances away and instead mentions that she is about to take a break. Maybe the request can wait until later. Hyren follows Thomas back to his store and is immediately greeted by Natasha, his wife. Thomas lifts his arm to show her, and Natasha gasps in surprise. The swelling and redness are gone. He immediately tells her that Hyren healed him, and after that asks her to let Hyren inside. Hyren steps in, feeling slightly shy but pleased. Inside the store, she tells Thomas about a new comforter made with paiori feathers that she noticed during a previous visit. In a soft and dreamy voice, she admits that she would love to sleep on. Thomas finds the request nearly impossible to refuse. Soon Hyren is stretched across the fluffy bed, sinking into the softness, and finally beginning her rest. Meanwhile, back at the healing clinic, Holly rushes to Miss Wanda, trying to explain that Hyren is missing. Miss Wanda asks her to be quiet because of a patient nearby. But after that, she notices Jean, tears in her eyes, and asks what is wrong. Jean says that Hyren had said she would take a short nap, but but has not returned. She starts to worry that someone might have taken her. At that moment, 2 apprentice saints enter. After listening, they tell Miss Wanda that if she is searching for Hirun, the first place to check is Valhalla, the betting store. Hirun mentioned going there earlier. Seeing Wanda's shocked expression, the girls explain that they assumed she already knew. Wanda sighs in frustration and wonders when Hirun will finally stop causing her so much worry. Meanwhile, Hirun is already sleeping on the store bed and enjoying the comforter beneath. She knows that its feathers come from a special monster and contain floating magic, making the bedding incredibly light. She also remembers that Paiori feathers make up only 30% of the filling, with other feathers used for the rest. That creates a new question. How light would a comforter made from 100% Paiori feathers feel? Would sleeping on it feel like floating through the air? Hirun is enjoying the warmth in her sleep when noise rises from the front of the store. From a distance, she notices Miss Wanda rushing inside with an angry expression. Thomas asks what she needs, and Wanda immediately wants to know whether Hirun is there. Thomas calmly says she is sleeping in the central room. Wanda bows and apologizes for any trouble Hirun may have caused. Thomas shakes his head and assures her that Hirun has caused no inconvenience. In fact, business has improved since she began visiting. Wanda is surprised and asks whether Hirun truly comes that often. Thomas nods and explains that she sometimes stays for only 5 minutes and other times for 20. Wanda goes quiet and with care picks up the sleeping Hirun. She apologizes again and thanks Thomas and Natasha for looking after her. They tell her not to worry. Thomas even says it feels like Hirun is looking after him, which sounds odd, but he admits, "Do I actually feel more motivated when she is around?" As Wanda carries Hirun away, Thomas and then Natasha wave goodbye. Once outside, Wanda tells Hirun she will clean the Kiliad Hall when they get back to the church. Another punishment as usual. At the healing clinic, Thomas and Natasha can't stop talking about how incredible Hirun is. They keep telling everyone that there is no injury Hirun cannot instantly heal. From the corner, someone listens quietly, confirming that the rumors about Hirun's holy magic are true. Could it actually be that powerful? Meanwhile, Hirun is at it again, helping another patient in the clinic. As she releases her magic, shiny stars flow around her, and the patient watches amazed. She can't help but admire Hirun. In no time, her headache and tooth pain disappear, and she feels so grateful. Sue even promises to tell others about Hirun's skills, and Hirun urges her to also mention that she is an amazing saint. The patient is so thankful that she offers to treat Hirun to a meal at her bakery. Without thinking twice, Hirun agrees to follow her. But simply as she decides to leave, she hears Holly call her name from the clinic entrance. Is she going to leave again without permission? Hirun turns to face her calmly and teases that she already knows Holly is a big eater. Holly realizes Hirun is trying to lure her into becoming an accomplice. But Holly refuses, saying that as a devoted apprentice saint she can't be tempted by food. Hirun insists it will be fine, that they can just go quickly and return softly. Holly is stunned that Hirun still intends to go after being scolded so recently. The patient reassures both girls and offers to take them by carriage, removing any danger. She only wants them to sample her bakery's specialty, strawberry bread. Is the bread truly delicious enough to justify this? The moment Holly hears the name, she exclaims in surprise, which catches Hirun off guard. Hirun asks whether she has heard of it before, and Holly says rumors about the bread have already reached her. The woman explains that it is the signature product of her shop, Piper's Bakery. Has the bakery really become that famous already? Now that Holly is interested, Hirun asks Piper whether Holly may come with them. Piper happily agrees and rushes away to prepare a carriage for the trip to her restaurant. After Piper leaves, Holly claims she does not actually care about visiting the bakery and is only coming because she is worried about Hirun. Does she really need to go this far? She silently questions herself, but still agrees to accompany her. Hirun is genuinely thankful. While the two are still waiting for Piper, the young man who was eavesdropping on Thomas's conversation about Hirun earlier, he tells them that he can see they are having a good little chat. They are shocked to see him. Holly wonders who he is. Is he an examiner, or has he come to determine if they are fit to be in the next generation of saints? Hirun immediately begins defending them, insisting that they are not avoiding work. She explains that they were extremely diligent and finished all their duties only a few moments ago. Holly notices that Hirun is speaking far more than usual and quickly warns her to be careful. To their surprise, the man says he already knows they completed their work because he personally watched them. He then announces that he has 2 questions for Hirun. First, He wants to know how long she has been able to memorize Holy Scripture. Hiren honestly answers that she could do it from the very beginning. The response shocks him. He had suspected she was the apprentice known as the Sleepy Princess, but seeing her directly makes him believe her talent exceeds even the rumors. And immediately, as Holly hears that, she exclaims, which surprises Hiren. She asks if Holly already knew about it, and Holly replies that she has been hearing rumors about the bread. Hiren after that says that it is her specialty at her bakery, known as Piper's Bakery. Could it actually be that well known already? At this point, Holly shows interest in the meal, and Hiren asks Piper if she can take Holly along. Piper agrees and hurries to prepare a carriage to take them to her restaurant. As Piper leaves, Holly tells Hiren that she doesn't actually want to go to the restaurant, but she is just concerned about her. Does she really have to go? She asks herself silently, but she agrees to follow. Hiren feels really grateful to her for that. While they wait for Piper, the young man who had listened to Thomas talking about Hiren approaches. He comments that the girls appear to be enjoying a pleasant conversation. Both are surprised by his sudden arrival, and Holly wonders who he might be. Is this man an examiner, or has he come to judge whether they are worthy of joining the next generation of saints? Hiren immediately starts explaining to the man that they aren't slacking off. She says they were extremely diligent and had already finished their work for the day a few moments earlier. Holly notices that Hiren is talking more than expected and immediately cautions her. Surprisingly, the man says he is already aware of what Hiren told him. He has witnessed how they all work. Then he says he has 2 questions for Hiren. The first question is how long she has been able to memorize the Holy Scripture. She answers sincerely that it was right from the very beginning. This shocks the man. He already suspected that Hiren must have been the Sleepy Princess, but looking at her now, he can tell her talents seem even better than the rumor. While the man is still processing the answer, Hiren asks for his name. He suddenly remembers that he failed to introduce himself and says he is Bishop Mamillan. After hearing the title, Hiren assumes his position must be below Archbishop Societas. She then asks about his second question. Mamillan says this one is far more important. He has heard that Hiren is an orphan and wants to know whether she has ever wished to have a parent. Hiren realizes she has barely considered the idea. Her father in her former life died when she was young, so she remembers almost nothing about him, and she has never known a mother. In this world, the goddess feels like the closest thing she has to one. Can Hiren even picture herself with an ordinary parent here? Mamillan says that if Hiren is willing, he could adopt her and provide powerful support for her future. Hiren is stunned by the offer. Suddenly, Mamillan senses an enormous amount of energy spreading around him, and Hiren's shining eyes make him feel as though she can see directly through his intention. Guilt immediately settles over him. He decides to tell the truth, because taking advantage of a kind child would be wrong. Mamillan explains that he serves Archbishop Zapan, placing him in a separate faction from Hiren's guardian, Archbishop Societas. He adds that he has heard many rumors about Hiren's exceptional talent, which is why he planned to adopt her and bring her into his faction. Hiren is shocked. She doesn't even know who Zapan is. Holly, on the other hand, is realizing that there has been a political movement in the church that they didn't even know about. After thinking carefully, Hiren answers Mamillan, declining his request. She can't betray her guardian. Mamillan does not force her. Instead, he tells her that more people may come to persuade her, simply as he has. He says he can come to her if she ever needs anything, and that he will be at the Hall of Shooting Stars in the church. He also warns Hiren to remain mindful of her surroundings. Then he takes his leave. Hiren bows, thanking him for his kind words. Could she actually have someone like that watching over her? As Mamillan walks away, he suddenly remembers one more important matter. He tells Hiren that he plans to recommend her for promotion to saint. He will make the same recommendation for Holly because he believes both girls will become excellent saints. Hiren and Holly are delighted, and Holly immediately thanks him. Although Mamillan failed in his original purpose, seeing Hiren smile leaves him feeling relieved. With that, he finally departs. Soon afterward, Piper arrives with the carriage she went to bring. She directs them inside, and as they enter, they are immediately greeted by the aromas of the strawberry. It smells so sweet, but can it actually taste as good as it smells? Piper explains that strawberry bread is the most popular item sold at her bakery and offers to wrap some as a gift. Hiren initially refuses, but then remembers Jean and decides she may enjoy it. Before Hiren can look toward Holly, she notices her already moving toward the pastries displayed on a cabinet. When Hiren calls her name, Holly asks whether they are truly allowed to taste them because every pastry looks beautiful and tempting. Hyrule knows they should show gratitude to Piper for the invitation. Piper tells them they can eat on a bench outside the bakery. Once the girls sit down, they watch the crowd passing. Holly is surprised by the number of people and wonders whether the area is always this busy. Hyrule says the peaceful scene must be the result of the saints' hard work. Their constant efforts allow ordinary people to live safely, so everyone should be grateful to them. The girls begin eating the bread and enjoy every bite. After a while, Hyrule admits that the sweet strawberry smell is already making her sleepy. Holly immediately becomes alert and rises to her feet. She reminds Hyrule of Bishop Mamillan's words before he left. Church headquarters has high expectations for both of them. As the youngest potential saints, they may gain enormous influence across the city. Holly insists that they cannot leave every responsibility to the current saints and must live up to the hopes placed upon. Hyrule is surprised by Holly's sudden seriousness. At that moment, Piper finishes serving a customer and hears the noise outside. When she checks, she is shocked to find Hyrule and Holly blessing her bakery as saints. People start gathering around them, and Piper becomes emotional when she sees how far the girls are willing to go for her. Their actions clearly show how thankful they are. Hyrule and Holly have also enjoyed their time at Piper's bakery. The bread leaves them full and satisfied. While releasing a blessing over the shop, Hyrule remembers the goddess who brought her into this world and feels grateful for the kindness everyone around her has shown. At the headquarters of the Church of Mephisto, a group of elders gathers to begin the Saint Promotion Approval meeting. Could this be the moment that changes the futures of Hyrule and Holly? The meeting is already underway, and the same two names keep coming up, Hyrule and Holly. Archbishop Isekais is the one who recommends them, calmly proposing that both girls be promoted to saint. After saying that, he looks around the room and asks whether anyone objects. For a few seconds, everything goes silent. Is anyone going to speak? Archbishop Zapan is the first to respond. He brings up the reports he has been receiving about Holly, and they are not exactly positive. He mentions her constant sleepiness and how people have started calling her the Sleepy Princess. This is not something he can simply ignore. So he turns to Isekais and asks whether there is an explanation. Isekais answers without hesitation. He explains that Hyrule sees the world differently from other people. Yes, she sleeps often, but that does not mean she lacks ability. In fact, he believes the exact opposite. Her magic power is enormous, far beyond normal, and that causes her body to tire more easily. That is simply the way she is. At least, that is how he understands her. It is obvious that Zapan and Isekais disagree on plenty of things. The two rarely see eye to eye. Normally, the Eastern Great Saint would step in, calm them down, and guide the conversation, but her seat is empty today. Without her there, the tension hangs around a little longer than it normally would. Isekais then calls on Mamillan to speak and directly asks whether he supports Hyrule's promotion. Mamillan answers yes without hesitation, which catches Zapan off guard. Why would he agree so easily? Mamillan explains that from the first moment he saw Hyrule, he sensed something unusual about her. There is clearly something special that cannot be ignored. Because of that, he believes it is better to promote her now and let her gain experience as soon as possible. Far away from the meeting, Hyrule is back in her room and already feeling sleepy again. She does not even feel like changing her clothes before climbing into bed. Is staying awake for a few more minutes really that difficult? Jean stands next to her with a dress in hand, gently trying to make her change before she goes to sleep. Before they can settle anything, the door suddenly swings open. Holly rushes inside without warning. Jean jumps in surprise and asks what the sudden entrance is about. Holly quickly says there is an emergency. Still, after seeing the uneasy look on Hyrule's face, she adds that it is not bad news. Hyrule studies Holly's expression and begins to wonder, has something finally been decided? For a moment, she guesses that they may have received something simple, perhaps a mattress donation. But the idea only annoys Holly. She snaps and makes it clear that this is not the time for thoughts like that. Holly finally says it directly. Their promotion has been approved at the meeting. At that exact moment, people in the dining hall are already discussing it. The news is spreading quickly. What will this decision change for them now? Holly can barely contain her excitement while explaining everything. The two of them are truly going to become saints together. Her voice is filled with happiness, though a little nervous energy slips through as well. Jean stands there stunned, while Hyrule stays quiet and tries to process the news. Can all of this really be happening so quickly? Holly jokes that she must be Hyrule's good luck and says it feels right for them to graduate together. Hiren takes those words seriously. She becomes emotional and gently asks Holly to keep being her good luck from now on. That catches Holly by surprise. She only meant it lightly, but the moment suddenly feels different. How is she supposed to respond to something so sincere? Still, hearing it makes her feel a little special. As Holly starts to leave, she suddenly glances back and adds one more. Jean has been chosen too. That means she will probably graduate from her apprenticeship as well. Jean is stunned and asks whether it is really true. Holly confirms that it is. Everyone at the West Church already knows how hard Jean works, and many apprentice maids look up to her. Hearing this, Jean's emotions rise all at once. She cannot hide how happy she is. Jean starts talking about the past, thinking back to the first time she met Hiren. Back then, Hiren's beauty alone made such a strong impression that Jean immediately wanted to remain. But she also remembers her own difficulties. She becomes tired easily and is often told that her reflexes are poor. At times, she almost gives up, believing she is not worthy of staying beside Hiren. Then everything changes after Hiren uses holy magic on her. Jean never expected anything like that, especially for someone like herself. Ever since then, she has felt nothing but gratitude, convinced that everything she has now is because of Hiren. Hiren, however, refuses to take all the praise. She simply believes Jean succeeded because of her own hard work. That answer makes Jean even more emotional. She steps forward and hugs Hiren tightly, unable to hold back her tears. Her feelings spill out before she realizes. Seeing this, Holly's eyes also begin to grow wet. She quietly hopes the two of them can always remain this happy. Can moments like this last forever? At last, the day of the Saint promotion ceremony arrives. In the preparation room, Hiren is getting dressed for the occasion. Jean once again reminds her not to fall asleep during the ceremony. Hiren says she understands, but inside, the exhaustion already feels heavy. After all, Jean woke her at 4 in the morning. Can she really stay awake until everything is over? Jean softly tells Hiren that it is time to put on her saint robe. She assumes Hiren has already heard about it, but explains anyway that every saint receives a robe with a different design. After that, she walks to the wardrobe and opens it for Hiren to see. A beautiful gown is waiting inside. It catches the eye immediately. Jean explains that the robe was made using the many donations Hiren received from people who admire her. Because of that, it carries the hopes and feelings of everyone supporting her. This is more than an ordinary dress. It is something special, created for Hiren alone. In fact, people say there is no other robe like it anywhere in the world. Hearing that, Hiren is instantly drawn toward it. She reaches out, lifts the robe, and examines it closely. It already seems as though it will fit her perfectly. Can something made just for her really feel this natural? As she gets ready to put it on, Hiren notices Jean praising the robe again, and that makes her pause. Why is Jean acting like this? She has already seen the robe before, and she knows there is one small issue. The length is not very long. Hiren does not consider that a problem though. Instead, she thinks it will make moving around much easier. Jean immediately warns her that if she lies down, people might be able to see underneath, so she has to be careful. Hiren, however, views the robe from a completely different angle. She comments on how comfortable it looks, and even thinks it seems perfect for sleeping in without getting ready. The thought escapes before she realizes she said it aloud. Jean looks a little defeated after hearing that, especially since she already told Hiren not to sleep. Hiren hurriedly apologizes once she notices, but Jean can only respond with a tired smile. In her eyes, Hiren truly is a saint in a way only Hiren could. That comment makes Hiren blush. She starts thinking about what it really means. Soon, she will stop being an apprentice and officially stand as a saint. The idea feels exciting, yet hardly real. Is she honestly prepared for that? She carefully removes the clothes she is wearing and changes into the saint robe. When she looks at herself, emotion quietly rises inside her. Jean keeps helping, placing the saint necklace around Hiren's neck and guiding her into the shoes. Piece by piece, the entire outfit comes together. Jean takes a step back to look at the result, and she cannot hide how impressed she is. The robe fits Hiren perfectly and gives her a soft, graceful present. To Jean, she looks exactly like a true saint, maybe even a goddess. Hiren notices her reaction and quietly thinks Jean may actually be happier than she is. Inside, Hiren is filled with gratitude. She thinks of all the people in the city and how their support allowed this moment to happen. Even now, the situation hardly feels real. Back in Japan, there was a time when she could not afford to rent even a simple kimono, And now she is standing here in something this beautiful. How can one life change so completely? As those thoughts settle in her heart, tears begin forming before Hiren notices. Jean sees them first and gently asks what is wrong. Hiren quickly insists that it is nothing and says she is only feeling a little emotional. She wipes her eyes and tries to steady herself. Then Hiren bows to Jean and sincerely thanks her for everything she has done since the very beginning of her life as an apprentice saint. Hiren remembers every small effort and every moment of care. Jean, however, is not willing to accept the gratitude so easily. She believes she should be thanking Hiren instead. To Jean, Hiren is someone deeply precious. Hiren feels exactly the same and quietly returns that warmth. A little later, the two prepare to leave. Jean mentions that Holly is already outside waiting for them. Hiren can easily imagine her standing there and wonders whether Holly has already lost patience. With that thought in mind, they head out together and make their way toward the chapel at the church headquarters. When they reach the headquarters, Holly is already waiting outside. Hiren greets her, but Holly does not answer immediately. She looks irritated and asks how long they think she has been standing there. Hiren gently explains that this is her first time preparing for something like this, so it took longer than expected. Holly turns toward Hiren, and her expression immediately changes. She is clearly surprised. The robe suits Hiren so well that Holly cannot hide her reaction, and for a moment, she even thinks Hiren looks like a goddess. Hearing that makes Hiren blush, unsure how to respond. She returns the compliment by saying Holly also looks better in her own saint robe. Is this what it feels like for them to stand side by side like this? Holly quickly regains her composure and reminds Hiren that today is the saint promotion ceremony. It is an important day for everyone, so they need to give their best for the people. Hiren agrees without hesitation. They shake hands and share a moment of resolve. Hiren even says she is ready to give up sleep for the day because so many people sacrifice their time to come. She wants to match their effort in her own way. Holly listens, but she does not look fully convinced. Instead, she quietly pulls Jean aside and asks whether Hiren will really be. Judging from her face, Hiren still seems extremely drowsy. Jean answers honestly. Hiren went to bed early, but she also had to wake up very early that morning. Because of that, Jean can only guarantee that she will remain awake for a few minutes. That answer leaves Holly worried. The Pope's sermon alone is supposed to last around 30 minutes. Can Hiren really stay awake through all of it? Still, Holly begins thinking of possible solutions. Since she will be standing beside Hiren, she can watch her closely. She also remembers the strange way Hiren uses holy magic. Rather than depending entirely on her physical body, Hiren often uses magic to support herself. If she does that, perhaps she can endure until the end. As Holly thinks this over, Jean understands what is going through her mind. Holly must be remembering Hiren's ability to control her own body with holy magic. Maybe that will be enough to get her through such an important occasion. Once Holly feels slightly calmer, she remembers another important matter. The trial of prayer begins immediately after the ceremony, and it is not a small test. By praying continuously inside a special room, a candidate's thoughts are supposed to reach Goddess Sophia. Divine light will then shine from her body as proof that she has become a saint. That is how the promotion is confirmed. Holly explains that she and Hiren will enter separate prayer. No one will be allowed to remain beside Hiren or assist her. She must deal with everything alone. Jean cannot hide her concern after hearing that. She wishes she could stay close to Hiren, but there is no way the rules will allow it. Hiren notices their expressions and steps closer because she can tell they are talking about her. She gently reassures them that there is no reason to worry. Holly studies her carefully and asks whether she truly understands what lies ahead. Hiren will need to remain awake and continue praying for 6 hours. That number immediately surprises her. 6 hours? Can she actually manage that? Holly continues by explaining that 6 hours is only the average. Sometimes the prayer lasts much longer and can stretch across the entire day. If someone gives up halfway, there is no second chance, and the opportunity to become a saint is lost. She adds that this is exactly why Miss Wanda has always been so strict with them. The ceremony cannot be treated lightly. Hiren's mood drops as she processes everything. Seeing that, Holly hurriedly tries to encourage her. She reminds Hiren that the goddess will be watching them while they pray. Holly also repeats something she heard from an experienced saint, saying Hiren may not feel hunger or thirst at all during the trial, and that the experience itself is supposed to be special. That information slowly releases some of the tension. Hiren begins feeling a little calmer and decides to face the trial without overthinking. If things become difficult, Maybe she can simply ask the goddess to help her. That small bit of confidence brings her energy back, and Jean tells her to keep holding on to it. Holly then admits that even though the ceremony is supposed to be sacred, something about it still makes her nervous. The chapel at the church headquarters is an extremely important place. Royal weddings, annual ceremonies, and other major events in the kingdom are held there. Standing before it now makes the weight of the moment feel real. Soon, they enter the chapel. The ceremony opens with a long sermon from the Pope, followed by singing from the choir. Hiren tries her hardest to stay awake, but it is not easy. Little by little, her body begins giving in. Without realizing it, she searches for a comfortable position. Is she seriously about to fall asleep here? Just as Hiren's eyes begin closing, Archbishop Isekais announces that she and Holly will now pray to Goddess Sophia and seek permission to become saints. By that point, Hiren is already drifting off. Holly quickly gives her a subtle tap, trying to wake her before anyone else notices. Archbishop Isekais keeps speaking and clearly explains the rules. Other than Hiren and Holly, no one may enter the prayer room. He faces both girls and tells them to select one of the 4 rooms in front of them. Before going inside, each of them must swear that she will not leave until the divine light appears.